Today we are going to explore the issue of educational equality and equity in Boston schools. According to the National Schools Board Association, equality in education can be defined as achieved when students are all treated the same and have access to similar resources. And educational equity can be defined as when all students receive the resources they need so they graduate prepared for success after high school. Efforts to ensure this started in the 1970s when Boston Public Schools implemented busing. This was an attempt to desegregate schools by busing black students from predominantly black neighborhoods and having them go to predominantly white schools. This not only angered the white community and threatened the lives of many black students, but it also failed to address the issue as black students were still not performing at the level of white students and were overall held to lower standards than their white peers. It was not until about 20 years later, with the implementation of the Massachusetts Education Reform Act of 1993, that actual change and reform on educational equality and equity was seen. This act established minimum budgets in each school district, set curriculum standards across the state, and led to the adoption of the Massachusetts Comprehensive Assessment System.
However, despite the more widespread change this act implemented, we still see issues today in race and income and how they play a role in child's quality and access to education. This is measured by dropout rates, graduation rates, and MCAS scores. As you can see by the graph, over the years, Black and Latino students have continually performed lower than their white counterparts, showing that there is still a clear achievement gap between the racial groups. And while dropout rates are declining, they are still declining at a lower rate for African American and Latino students. Graduation rates have improved significantly since the education reform. 2018 was the highest four-year graduation rate Boston Public Schools seen, with 75.1% of students graduating. These advancements were made possible because of organizational efforts to increase equity and equality in the Boston Public School system. While it has improved, there is still inequality seen when looking more closely at this data. White students graduate at an average of 80.6%. Hispanic and Latino students graduate at an average of 67.6%. And African Americans students graduate at an average of 76.4%. Economically disadvantaged students show the least difference in graduation rates over the past 10 years as compared to any other group. Graduation rates for this population have only increased by 10.9% in the past decade.
The percentage gaps depicted in this graph are acknowledged by Jeffrey C. Riley, Commissioner of the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, when he stated, "While we are rightfully proud of our first-in-the-nation status on many educational measures, our NAEP scores have stagnated for years and in some cases even declined. Other states are catching up to us. More troubling is the fact that across virtually all metric, large achievement gaps persist for our students of color, English learners, and students with disabilities." This was also addressed by Secretary of Education for Massachusetts when he stated, "While Massachusetts students rank first in the nation on many educational measures, the Executive Office of Education strives to strengthen the foundations of education reform, empower schools and educators, and develop pathways to college and career so all students in the Commonwealth can succeed regardless of their zip code." Clearly, this is an issue that is on their radar. With that being said, they are taking the steps necessary to improve the racial gap and the influence zip code has over the quality of education you're receiving. They are doing so through the implementation of the plan Build BPS.
Some of the goals of BPS are minimizing school transitions for students by adopting two preferred school grade configuration models of K through 6/7 through 12 or K through 8/9 through 12, increasing access to pre-K, elementary, and middle school grade seats in areas of the city that need it most, addressing declining middle school enrollment, sustainability, and performance by phasing out the few remaining middle schools serving grades 6 through 8, facilitating greater equity of program placement to meet the needs of English learners, students with disabilities, and other populations, and finally modernizing BPS schools to provide facilities more conducive to a 21st century learning environment. Through Build BPS, the district aims to remove long-standing systematic barriers that have created inequities across the district, and by working with community partners such as Peer Health Exchange, Massachusetts Advocates for Children, and City Year, BPS and its students are able to get community support as well as grow closer to achieving and succeeding in educational equality and equity. This issue is important because an equitable education system helps students gain the knowledge and skills they need to be a productive member of society. This will also lead to better economic and social outcomes for individuals and the city of Boston. Every child deserves an excellent education and equal opportunities for growth and advancement.